Hello and welcome to 5 Things You Should Know. My name is Brian and I'll take you through 5 things you should know about hunt groups and work groups. The topics that we'll cover today are hunt group features and limitations, how to configure a hunt group, work group features and limitations, how to configure a work group, and lastly, when to use a hunt group versus a work group. The first topic we're going to cover is hunt groups, features and limitations. Hunt groups are hosted on switches, which means they don't require a server to operate. So if a particular server went down at a site, the hunt group would still stay up since they're hosted by the switches. Additionally, hunt groups allow calls to be offered to a limited set of user extensions with no reporting, queuing, sophisticated schedules, login or log out, or wrap-up states. Now there are some limitations when it comes to the different models of switches. The SG switches, they can allow up to 8 hunt groups with a max of 16 members per hunt group. Now the new generation switches as well as virtual switches can have up to 24 hunt groups with a maximum of 16 members per switch. Now if you do exceed the 16 members per hunt group, we have seen issues that adversely impact the system. Hunt groups allow the users in the hunt group to take multiple calls. This would be a good application for an operator or a receptionist, somebody that's taking several calls and can answer several calls at a time without having to log in or log out. One of the limitations of a hunt group is that there's no call queue or shared mailbox, although you can set the call forward and user busy destinations to different destinations, which we'll go through during the programming of the hunt group. Alright, so in this section I'm going to go over how to configure a hunt group. So first what you're going to do is you're going to log into Mitel Director. Once you're in Mitel Director, what you're going to do is you're going to come to the administration section, go down to features. It's going to be under call control and hunt groups. So we're going to create a new hunt group here, and it's kind of fill in the form type menu. So you're going to name your hunt group, give it an extension. Now you're going to pick a backup extension, and what this extension does is if for some reason the switch is offline or being rebooted for whatever reason, the calls will route to this backup extension. So I'm going to pick 115, which is a user. If you wanted to have a DID, which is a direct dial number, check this box. When you check this box, you'll get a drop down of different numbers that you can pick for the direct number. If you want this hunt group to be in the system dial by name directory, leave this checked. If not, uncheck it. If you don't want this hunt group to be in the system directory for other users in the system to look up, you're going to check this box to make the extension private. You're going to pick a switch that you want this hunt group to reside on. Usually it would be the switch that's closest to the users. Now here in the call stack depth, this is the amount of calls that can be stacked on the hunt group before it goes to the call stack full destination, which is down here. Now you're going to have the option for 2 different distribution patterns. You can have top down or simultaneous. Top down is going to ring one member, then the next, then the next, then the next. Simultaneous is going to ring all the members at the same time. Now the rings per member, if you have it in a top down distribution pattern, it's going to ring each member 3 times before it goes to the next member. And simultaneous distribution pattern, it's going to ring all members. No answer number of rings, that's the number of rings that's going to ring this hunt group before it goes to the no answer destination. This checkbox for a call member when forwarding all calls, if that's checked, even if the user has their phone set to do not disturb, it will ring their phone anyway. Skip member if they're already on a call. This is going to skip a member if they're already on a call, on a hunt group call or any other call. It'll skip them, so that way they won't be getting multiple calls. This is the call forward destination area, so you're going to pick an extension here. If the call stack's full, it's going to roll to this destination. like it says here, if there's no destination specified, the busy tone is played. Right here, no answers, so this is a no answer destination. Typically, we'd want this to go to either another user or an auto attendant or something along those lines. Off hours holiday destination, this is a destination that the call is going to roll to if it's off hours or during a holiday, which you would program those schedules down here. Go ahead and save this one since we have all the basic information there. So this is a test hunt group, and now it gives me access to the members tab. Now the members tab, you can come in here and you can pick different members to be part of this hunt group. So for example, I want user 1 through 5 to be in this hunt group. I'm going to move them over to this side. Now keep in mind, if you do have this set to top down, it's going to go top down from this user 115, 116, 117, 118. So say I want 119 to ring first. I'm going to move that one to the top. Click save, and now your hunt group is configured and ready to go. Now in this next section, we're going to go over workgroup features and limitations. Workgroups are hosted on servers, which means that if a server were to lose connectivity or go down, the workgroup would not function. That is why it's a good idea to make maybe a hunt group as a backup destination to the workgroup and add the same agents, so that way if a server were to go down, then the system will fail over to the hunt group and calls will resume. Workgroups are basically low-end ACD queues. They allow the ability for agents to log in and log out. They allow for calls to be queued, and you can do different treatments while the calls are in the queue. It allows for a distribution pattern of longest idle round robin. Of course, it still allows you to do top-down and simultaneous like it does with the hunt groups. It also allows the ability to announce estimated wait time. Workgroups also give the ability for workgroup supervisors. Now, the supervisor software would go on a supervisor's PC, and it allows them to see different stats about the workgroup. It allows them to see the status of the agents. It allows them to log in and log out the agents at will. Now, some limitations of the workgroups are that there are 256 workgroups allowed with 300 members per workgroup. So that includes supervisor and agents. Now, if you have a work group that is set to simultaneously ring all of the members in the group at the same time, that has a limit of 16 members per work group. Also keep in mind workgroup agents and workgroup supervisors. In order for agents to log in, log out of the queues using their Connect client, they will need a workgroup agent license. And for supervisors, in order to use the supervisor tools, they will need to have the workgroup supervisor license. Alright, if you made it this far, I'm going to show you how to configure a basic workgroup. So what you're going to do is you're going to log into Mitel Director. You're going to go to the Administration tab, Features, and then you're going to go to Workgroups. I don't have any configured here, so we're going to create a brand new one. Click New, and it's same as Hunt Group, kind of fill the form out. I'm going to name this New Workgroup. I usually put WG for Workgroup or HG for Hunt Group when I'm programming either one. You're going to pick an extension for it. It's going to autofill an extension that's not used, so you know for sure that this one's not working, but if you want to change it, feel free. Backup extension, what I would suggest here is to put a hunt group as a backup extension. That way, if the server were to go down, you have the hunt group as a backup, and I would add some of the same users that are in the work group to the hunt group. That way you have redundancy. So I'm going to pick the hunt group that were used in the last demonstration. Again, these are the same options from the hunt group. If you want this included in the system dial by name directory, leave this box checked. If you want to make the extension private, check this box. That means that when somebody is looking the name up in the Connect client, the workgroup won't show, so they can't call it directly. Now, if you want this to have its own DID, fill out this area, enable the DID. It'll give you a DID range, and pick the DID number. I'm not going to enable that right now. pick the user group, pick the server that's closest to the agents. In this case, I only have one server, so that's the only one clickable. If you want the work group to have a mailbox, go ahead and enable the mailbox. This will create a mailbox for the work group. It can take messages for the work group, and they'll get distributed to all of the work group members, and they'll be able to listen to them. You can enable automatic agent logout on ring no answer. That means if an agent gets a call, they don't answer it, it'll automatically log that agent out, so they're constantly not getting calls even though they're logged out. At the very bottom here, you can see that the current schedule is set to on hours. Once we apply a schedule to this and it's off hours or holiday, this will change as the schedules change. I'll go ahead and save this. I'm going to go over here to routing. So here you have all your routing options, what the work group does during on hours, off hours, holiday, and custom. So that is all determined by which schedule you pick. Now here's the distribution pattern. You can have top down, round robin, longest idle, or simultaneous. In this case, I'm just going to leave it as top down. Call forward, you can either have it always go to voicemail, always go to whatever extension you put here, or no answer busy. That means if nobody answers or all the agents are busy, it'll forward to whatever destination you choose here. And here you can determine how many rings it takes before it forwards, and also how many rings per agent. If all the agents are logged out, you can either have it forward to voicemail or go to a queue. You can also set an escalation profile for a work group for any voicemails or incoming calls. Now the workgroup greeting is set here. Workgroup greeting is the greeting that callers will hear when they first enter the workgroup. For example, you have reached ABC company, please stay on the line, your call will be answered as soon as possible. You would record that here. That way the greeting will play before the call is in the queue. Moving on to the voicemail tab, you have your general voicemail password that you would set here if you have a voicemail box associated with the work group. Accept broadcast messages. This is for broadcast voicemail messages if you want this work group to accept them. You can also set an email address, and you can deliver the email as, or deliver the voicemail as email text, or you can attach the WAV file, mark message as heard, and send email warning when the mailbox is full. Or you could have all the voicemails automatically forwarded to whatever voicemail you select in this bottom section. And here on this tab, this is the escalation profiles that I went through in the previous tab. You can either escalate for each new message or escalate for first unheard message, and you can have up to 9 profiles with 10 steps associated with it. And over here in the members tab, this is where you determine which members you're going to want in your queue. So I'm just going to do 1 through 5. Go ahead and add those. And since I had my distribution pattern set to top down, it's going to start ringing 115 first, then 116, 117, and so on and so forth. Another thing is if you have a work group and you want the agent to be logged in, you can click on the agent and you get the agent state over here. So over here you would log in the agent or log out the agent. Say an agent forgot to log out at the end of the day, you can come here and actually log the agent out manually. Now over here on the queue handling tab, this is the conditions that these are the conditions that happen when there's a call in the queue. So the call in the queue warning, 3 calls. This is for supervisors. It'll give a warning showing that there's 3 calls in queue. Calls waiting time warning, 60 seconds. That means if there's a call waiting longer than 60 seconds, it'll throw a warning. Allow agents to pick up from queue. Checking this allows the agents to actually cherry pick the calls from the queue by selecting which call they want to answer. Now you can have up to 5 different steps in a work group queue. If you want any one of these steps to be active, you have to uncheck this box. If this box is checked, it's going to skip it all the way until the end. The last one you cannot skip, as it is required for a workgroup queue if you have any queuing set up. You can announce the estimated wait time on any one of these steps. You can also record a greeting on any one of these steps. For example, all of the agents are busy right now. Please stay on hold. Your call will be answered as soon as possible. You would record it here, and you can have the different options. So say you want one of the options to be able to leave a voicemail. So press 1 to leave a voicemail. You would take a message for this work group. Now the reason I'm getting this error is because I have nothing recorded here. You'd have to record a greeting before you can configure the options. And this last section just shows if there's any DNIS associations to this work group. Go ahead and save this, and your work group should be set up. Now, when should you use a hunt group versus a work group? It depends on the distribution pattern that you want. If you want to be able to do round robin or longest idle, things like that, you should pick a work group. However, consider the cost, because you will need licenses for the agents to log in or log out, unless you want to log them in and log them out manually, which we covered in the previous slides. Now, there are some group limitations that you have with the hunt groups. As we went over, the hunt groups are limited to 16 members per hunt group per switch, whereas the work groups don't have this same limitation. Now, if you're looking for call queues, some different call treatment, that's where you would want to go with a work group. The call treatments and call queues are not available in the hunt groups. And finally, the reporting, you will get more detailed reporting if you go with a work group versus a hunt group, although they both have their reports that go along with them. Now, in this episode of 5 Things You Should Know, you should have learned the hunt group features and limitations, how to configure a hunt group, the work group features and limitations, how to configure a work group, and when to use a hunt group versus a work group. I want to thank you all for your time, and we'll see you on the next episode of 5 Things You Should Know.